All right, guys, what's up? It's Jack, and welcome back to another video. And today we are going to be having an in-depth discussion about the prestige system in XDefiant, because I am looking at Mark Rubin's Twitter right now, and there's been kind of an update. So therefore, I wanted to do kind of an update video because I know that I've already spoken about the prestige system, but we're going to go a little bit more in depth into it. We're going to go a little bit more into ideas. And we're also going to be going over what other people have to say about the prestige system. And Mark Rubin himself actually had a poll in which the results are now final. So we're going to be talking about that. So as we know, in pretty much any first-person shooter, a progression system / a prestige system is something that is of significance, whether you are the most casual of the casual or whether you are the hardcore of the most hardcore. It's an option that you can choose to partake in or not to partake in. But ultimately, there is, at least for me personally, and for a lot of other people, there is a certain level of satisfaction of leveling up. But I think we need to go a little bit more than just leveling up. Because if it was the end-all be-all, then just they would have up to level 1 million and it would just never end. But it's more than just about that, which is what we're going to get into today. So without further ado, let's get into it. So what does Mark Rubin have to say on Twitter? He says, and I quote, "I saw some thoughts on prestige from players. We've been aiming at a classic system that stops at, say, 10, but I've seen comments about adding more levels every season. Not resetting, but just adding more. So what do you think?" So he basically put on a poll that had two options. Option 1 was Classic 10, and option 2 was new levels every season. And 71.5% of the vote was for a Classic 10 system, and with the remaining 28.5% having new levels every season. So that's actually very interesting. I actually thought that the majority would be the other way around. But apparently a lot of people really dig the classic prestige system. I guess it kind of correlates that this is a classic game overall when you think about it. So a lot of people are very much all about the classic when it comes to this. I mean, it's great and all, but for me, like I put on Twitter, by the way, I said, well, I could do if we do have a classic 10 system, which is likely that we will, because that's what most people want according to this poll. And by the way, there were 31,584 votes when it comes to this. So that's a pretty good sample size. But ultimately, and that's more than half of his followers, by the way, that voted on this. So anyway, when it comes to this, I hope that if a Classic 10 does come to fruition, I hope we at least have the option to reset. Because it would make it a hell of a lot easier than just doing multiple accounts or just creating multiple accounts, just so that way you can start from scratch. So like for me, for instance, one idea that popped into my head before starting this recording is that I could do a live road to Commander or road to Prestige, right? For every season, right? And then we can kind of look at the stats in terms of every single season, and to see which season I did the best at or something like that, or, things like that, that's the cool thing about the prestige system. It allows for interesting content and allows for players to play the game slightly differently or whatnot. It's like you can literally do an entire prestige run with just one type of weapon or one type of faction or a combination of the two, and then just see after an entire prestige what the results of that is, of what the results of those are. It's pretty damn interesting, the combinations you can do if you think about it from a content creation standpoint or even just playing. So yeah, I'm gonna look at this thread and I want to see what other community members think about this. So here we go. Obviously my reply was at the top because it was the one that I did. So, and I basically said, and I quote, "Can we have an option to reset after reaching max prestige? This will be easier than having multiple accounts." And then I had a little smiley face. So, and then we have another gentleman that says, my thoughts on faction-based rewards, like a mini progression system where each faction would have rewards like charms, skins, weapons, camos, etc., tied to their respective factions. Now, that doesn't really have much to do with prestige system, but it does relate. Next up, another person said, "I personally think a classic 10 levels for each faction would be a solid start off. Then with each faction, there's new levels, prestige icons, and other rewards." That's actually a really good idea. It also gives players that enjoy the prestige system a reason to grind a different faction. And when you look at the abilities of the factions, despite the fact that I have my ups and downs with them, like there's part of me that likes what they're going for and why they're there, but at the same time, there's a part of me that absolutely kind of I don't want to say despises, but it's there's a few red flags because it interferes with gun skill and understanding where opponents are coming from. But at the same time, I kind of get why they're there. But that's a very interesting take, especially since Mark Rubin with Call of Duty Ghosts did a similar thing with his prestige system. So, because there were 10 levels of prestige, 1 level of prestige for each soldier. So, but if they take it up a notch to where you would have multiple prestiges or up to 10 prestiges per faction, that's quite a grind, I would say. So again, good for content creation as well, and or streaming or just playing the game in general. That's a really good idea. I like that. Next up, we have another person said classic prestige works in COD because you know you have a 1-year life cycle for the game and then the new game comes out. I don't think people would be begging for a classic prestige. Understand that that's all you would get, potentially multiple years of games live a life service lifespan. So, and then there was more, but I'm not going to get into that, but we know what we're getting into. And then another person basically pointed at their, oh, and then here we go. Prestige is key said something. He said, it would be amazing to start off with the classic 10 or 15 and then add an additional 5 to 10 prestige ranks every season. I hope upon reaching max rank, we could still rank up past the threshold. Depending on the reward structure, it could be awesome to see each faction get its, and because this prestige is key, you know what? I'm gonna click on the show more and to see what else he had to say. Depending on the reward structure, it would be awesome to see each faction get its own setup of prestige ranks, mastery progression, and unlocks. Again, similar to what the other gentleman said, and I completely agree. Actually, next up, I'd like to see new levels each season, perhaps with a banner, icon, cosmetic as a reward. This would give new grinds regularly, but rewards who do them each season with something exclusive. Again, good ideas by the community over here. Another person says classic prestiges, but uncap the level when you reach 10th. Faction prestiges and levels would be good also. And I want to add to this and say that I think weapon prestiges should be a thing as well. So if somebody really adores using, like, let's say just 1 or 2 weapons, as opposed to the entirety of all weapons, right? Because obviously, you know, people are going to have reasons to use every weapons, mainly camo or mastery camos and stuff like that, but that's great. But there are players that don't care about that, or there are players that just wish they cared, but they wish they can get some sort of reward for grinding the weapon that they like to use. So I think reaching a max prestige for a certain weapon needs to be something that's added in as well, because even though we've had weapon prestiges in previous Call of Duties, there wasn't too much of a grind to them, and at the same time, there really weren't that many rewards related to them, and I think it's really a big opportunity for them to expand on the reward system in terms of depending on, you know, which weapon you enjoy using. And at the same time, can you imagine somebody out there reaching max prestige with every faction, every level, every season, and every weapon used for like the ultimate reward and the ultimate XP and stuff like that? And we're not just talking about rewards in the form of XP. We're talking about rewards in the form of so many things. So the sky's kind of the limit when it comes to this. This is why prestige in and of itself, the topic, is not so cut and dry. It's not so black and white. There's a whole level of depth into this that could be created. And they've already mentioned that they're already thinking outside the box, which is a good thing, and which adds to the prestige system perfectly. Let's see, we have another... is there another there's another one that says classics 10 for each faction, not just overall, new levels, prestige, icons, and such new each season. Another person says I would keep the prestige system and add more prestiges with new icons, the like each season to work towards. Another one up says, let's see, oh, that's just a okay, classic 10, after that it becomes excessive in my opinion. You know, that's one person's view. I do like the classic COD 4. Reset everything each time you prestige and make the last prestige worth it. That's pretty damn classic, but I don't know if everybody will agree. A lot of people really got tired of the really classic prestige system because all you were doing were resetting and just going through shit over it again. Even though there were a lot of people that really liked that, I don't know if people want to lose everything. I think there should be some sort of reward for prestiging. Therefore, it's like, hey, if you want a specific piece of gear that you must have, that you should unlock it, right? Permanently. That's one of the things that Modern Warfare 3 introduced, and they did that very well. Unlock gear was very, very important. You know, I mean, like Sitrep Pro, we all know how powerful Sitrep Pro was in that game. I'm sure a lot of people, once they figured that out, they're like, okay, every time I prestige, you know, I'm going to make, in the next time I prestige, or when I do prestige, I'm going to make sure that Sitrep Pro is my first unlock, first and foremost, hands down. Another person says 10 is the max prestige, but let players continue after that. If COD didn't make me stop, I'd be well into the thousands if there's no level cap. So moving on to the next one, adding more and more prestiges takes away from the amazing feeling that once came from being a prestige master. That is actually a very interesting way to put it. So as of right now, we've seen many different answers to this, right? I think what I said was enough, and there were plenty of different answers by regular members of the community, as well as even big members like Prestige is Key, who has a really big YouTube channel and all that stuff. So, and whose name is literally all about prestiging. So, okay. So ultimately, at the end of the day, there are people that are for a classic system and a new system as well as some damn good ideas in terms of what they could add to that system. But the thing is, when you have things like factions in the game, and when you have things like different weapons in the game and stuff like that, I would say you could actually add a prestige level with a cap to all those. But the thing is, ultimately, there are going to be people that are going to want to prestige further than that. So I would say a good sweet spot is to either give them the chance to keep going to a much higher level for that extra number, with possible additional rewards to come with that, which would be awesome. But at the same time, or what you can do is give the player the option to reset and start it over again and to do it again, or something like that. Again, this commentary could easily go on for so long, but because of the kind of possibilities outside the box, if you think outside the box, the kind of possibilities you can have with a prestige system. So this is what I say. At the very least, right, they should have obviously the classic 10 prestige system. However, or maybe 15 or 20 or 30 or something like that, right? However, you've got factions. Let's take advantage of those factions. Like, it could literally display on your stats right here that overall you could be like, let's say, a 6 prestige, but your faction prestige, because you haven't been using the same faction as much, for the entirety of that time, your faction prestige is, let's say, a 3 for a specific faction. Then when you choose another faction, it'll display that your faction prestige is at this, despite the fact that your main prestige level in terms of the amount of time you put into the overall game and playing it says that you're a prestige 6. Your faction prestige could be this, your weapon prestige could be that, because of depending on how you're using those weapons. So with using the combinations, just doing everything all at once and just kind of crossing out your list is a very interesting option to have. And I've mentioned in many videos before that one of the things that makes a lot of games great, and actually what started to make things great in the first place, is options, right? And when you have things like challenges and camos and rewards, cosmetics, and then the battle pass that's non-cosmetic, that's not pay to win, and that's just purely cosmetic added into the mix, you've got yourself a lot of content and plenty of reasons to keep playing the game. So if the game itself is going to release with only 24 weapons and only 5 game modes and stuff like that, guess what? A prestige system is a really good counter to that. Seriously, it could get anybody addicted. Oh, let's take it a step further, right? This is another thing. Let's take it a step further and have prestiges for attachments on weapons. And even a step further, have prestiges for one more thing. What did I want? Oh, for game modes. Have prestiges for game modes. Seriously. I don't know exactly how that would work, but seriously, you can literally add prestiges for game modes. I shit you not. So again, it also gives people a reason to try. Like, if you were to add a prestige system this big and a progression system this big to where reaching 100% completion in everything there is to do in the whole game, if you've got, challenges, max level, attachment prestiges, weapon prestiges, regular soldier prestiges, faction prestiges, along with rewards, to make you feel like you're progressing in the middle of all that as you continue to progress consistently, dude, getting 100% completion in this game would be a hell of a task, man. A huge task. And I bet you that there are people out there that are actually going to grind for it. I shit you not. They're going to use every weapon, every attachment. Like, for instance, for me personally, there would be no reason for me to use certain attachments on certain weapons because in accordance with my playstyle and how I prefer to play. However, if there's something that's going to be a reward added to that, whether it's like a prestige reward for that that weapon attachment that would give me that, whether it's a cool gun camo or whether it's a background from my character on the start screen, or whether it's a specific calling card or something that I could just show off in lobby. Like when you see all the players in lobby, like if it can make my number and my shit look really cool and animated and shit, dude, because that signifies that I did this, I might do it. Like I might not use that weapon combination of attachments in any other way by choice, but if you give me a reason to do it, I might do it. I'm not even kidding. I might do it. I won't go for I won't go things for like the mastery camo or anything like that, because again, there are certain weapons that I just do not enjoy using, period. But when it comes to attachments or a combination of attachments and stuff like that, like attachments that actually have prestige added to them, and if it requires me to reach mastery for that gun because I love using that gun, and then the reward itself is worth it, I might do it. I'm not kidding. I'm not saying that for the sake of this video. I am being true blue honest with you. I might just do it. So if you think about it, they could really go so in depth with this and add prestige in ways that haven't been added in other games before. And just to reiterate, soldier prestige, like your regular prestige your overall prestige that you put in terms of time in game, that could be a form of prestige right there. And then you got your faction prestige, right? That can have their own levels depending on when you decide to use a specific faction. Then you've got weapon prestige, right? And then you've got attachment prestige for those weapons and stuff like that. Like seriously, I'm not even kidding. Some of you guys might say attachment prestige might be overdue but no, it's not. No, it's not. Because when you look at the way some people play and how they play it, it's like, you want to be known as the real motherfucker that does this? You want to be given your props or whatnot? I mean, we got people out there that don't even use weapons. They just use melee weapons and they prestige. And some people have reached, like, there are some people out there, not many, but I remember seeing, there were a handful of people that reach max prestige in other Call of Duty games without firing a single bullet. People like that exist. So if people like that exist, that we know of and that we've seen, guess what? Other people out there do exist, and they will do everything there is to do in your game. And that, ladies and gentlemen, right there is content. And that right there is a reason for you to keep coming back and playing this game. It gives a lot more people more options and different ways to play the game and incentivize them to possibly try out other things that they've never tried out before. Oh, and I forgot to mention game modes as well, or reiterate game modes, because I mentioned it, but just saying, a prestige level for game mode, that's never been said before. But think about it. It could work. It could work. So XDefiant, please, by all means, if you agree with me, please tweet this video at them. I don't care about popularity and stuff like that. I'm not asking you to tweet it out to everybody and share this video and all that kind of stuff. I don't ask for that. I'm just saying, if you agree and if this sounds good to you, tweet it at the developers. I might even tweet it. I don't even tweet any of my videos out to developers, but I'm saying this is like the potential of what the prestige system could be. If it's like this, or an example of this, it could be very well worth the wait. I will wait, I will gladly, I'm waiting anyway, because I love the game, but I will, if I knew about this, if they released a video saying what they're going to do with their prestige system and stuff like that, and how they're going to reward you and everything like that, and the grind factor, which will be fun from start to finish, and how the end game is actually a legitimate grind that makes just grinding for diamond camo look like shit in comparison. It's like, dude, that right there would have me pumped up. Like Prestige is Key himself would not only make a video about that if they did something like that, but he would shit his pants. He would be like, holy shit. He would have so much content to make. That man would be like literally soiling himself out of happiness for that. So, but let me know. I'm probably going to tweet this video out to the developers, because I legitimately I would love to see something like this happen with this level of in-depth. So what do you guys think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know down in the comment section below. I would love to hear your ideas. I would love to hear your feedback. I would love to have a conversation down below. Thank you all so very much for taking the time to watch and or listen, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.